Hey, I'm Bailey and today I'm taking you on a walking tour through Fremantle, Perth's premier port town. And we've just parked up here at the bottom of the Esplanade, just next to the skate park and the giant Ferris wheel. And the first order of business is to get ourselves a beer from Little Creatures. Let's go!
Operating as Perth's major port and located at the mouth of the Swan River, Fremantle was the first area settled by the Swan River colonists and is home to some of the most impressive history in WA. Nowadays, it's also a popular tourist attraction, featuring loads of great bars and restaurants. Our first stop today is the legendary Little Creatures, a local brewery that became famous for its pale ales. Sitting right at the edge of the marina, it's a great spot for a cheeky pint before we begin our walking tour.
Have a beer at Little Creatures is done, so now let's go and explore the rest of the marina. There are no shortage of beaches along the Fremantle coastline, but due to the marina and the heavy boat use and a lot of the tourists really, I think they're some of the worst beaches you can get in Perth. Considering how great the beaches are just like a couple of k's north, a couple of k's south, the ones actually in Fremantle, they're a little bit disappointing. I'm far than a person to think that, Fremantle now is a pretty decent harbour, but when it was first settled by the white colonists, they had to have that long ass jetty all the way out to sea, use like small boats to get things off their ships and then take them by hand across to barges on the river. Not exactly the most efficient system. It was considered to be the worst goddamn hole in the world. It's also the reason why we ended up having convicts here in WA, because they needed more convicts, they needed more slaves essentially to help move all this cargo, which is leads us on to our next little destination, the Roundhouse.
The Roundhouse served as a place of detention, a courthouse, and a place of execution. The first person executed in the colony, a boy of just 15 years old, was hanged here.
So what was the Roundhouse? The Roundhouse was the first jail built in Australia, and now it's one of the oldest public buildings that we have.
It also served as an important landmark. Situated at the top of Arthur Head and visible both from the sea and from most of the city streets, the Roundhouse was a symbol of authority in the settlement.
So this back is the time gun, and that over there is the time ball. So back in the day when they needed to coordinate times with all the ships off at sea, they would drop that ball and they'd fire this cannon at the same time at about 1 p.m. to let everyone know, hey, it's 1 o'clock, set your watches accurately. Now it's all done by satellites obviously, but I guess because people like shit that's old, it's still here and they still do it. We're not hanging around for it.
The tunnels beneath the Roundhouse are whaling tunnels, designed to connect the whaling station at Bathers Beach to High Street, where it could be loaded onto barges in the river. At 57 metres long, the tunnel was constructed in just 5 months, using prisoners from the Roundhouse to mine the rock with pickaxes. These tunnels connect to what is now known as Fremantle's West End, a collection of streets characterised by late Victorian and Edwardian architecture.
So you can actually go inside the Roundhouse, but it's got coin donation and I don't have any change on me. So instead we're going to take a walk through the city and try and check out the Queen's Gardens. Sounds fun.
Fremantle is renowned for its well-preserved architectural heritage, including convict-built colonial area buildings, presenting a variety and unity of historic buildings and streetscapes. These were often built in limestone with ornate faces in a succession of architectural styles. Rapid development following the harbour works gave rise to an Edwardian precinct as merchant and shipping companies built in the West End and on reclaimed land.
So here we are in the centre of Freo, and a good chunk of it is all closed off thanks to this new construction that's going behind us. This used to be like a general sort of retail outlet, Myers store, and it's all been torn down and they're building something new. I have no idea what it is. Probably going to suck in. Freo has somewhat of an image problem. A lot of people consider it to be like a hive of scum and villainy, but it's actually really pleasant. I mean, everywhere has its problems, everywhere has crime, everywhere has poverty, Well, Free doesn't do too bad, and I think a lot of that stigma sort of comes from people's early experiences trying to go out, you know, clubbing here, which was awful back in the day, or because of the prison, which is where we're heading to now. It's no longer in use, it has been decommissioned. They did used to hang people here, blah blah blah. And they do run night tours, and there's like all these tunnels and stuff you can go through. It's pretty cool, I recommend checking it out. We're not going to go inside today because I do believe it does cost money, and we're trying to not spend anything.
Australia is pretty well known for convicts, and the two main East Coast colonies were populated mostly by them. However, the Swan River colony was different. It was a colony for free settlers. However, it turns out it's hard to build a colony when you have to pay for labour, and the settlement struggled right out of the gate. For a while they used prisoners and captured Indigenous peoples, but in 1847 a group of wealthy pastoralists petitioned the Legislative Council to introduce convict labour to stimulate the economy and open the state up for farming and development. There was some pushback from the locals, but the British government jumped on the opportunity for a solution to overcrowding in their prisons and quickly sent the first wave of convicts in 1849. The main cell block was completed and opened in 1855, and the first prisoners moved inside.
As great as prison walls are, we can't actually see much of inside at all, which is understandable. So we're going to head back into town and check out the Maritime Museum instead.
Fremantle is a very walkable city, and a couple of hours is more than enough to walk between all the main tourist attractions. We've seen just a small slice of what this city has to offer though, and there's plenty that we didn't have time for in this video. The main areas we missed are the Fremantle Art Centre, another building constructed in the 1860s by convicts from locally quarried limestone. We also missed the Fremantle markets, which are only open on the weekends and renowned for handcrafts, specialty foods, dining halls and a raucous atmosphere, and the E-Shed markets located in the harbour outside Fremantle Station. However, we do have one last spot to check out, the Shipwrecks Museum. Not to be confused with the Maritime Museum in Victoria Quay, the Shipwrecks Museum is recognised as the foremost maritime archaeological museum in the Southern Hemisphere and houses hundreds of relics from ships wrecked along WA's treacherous coastline, including the original timbers from the Batavia. There is an elevated viewing deck to look down upon the stern of the Batavia and appreciate the size and scope of the wreck and gallery. The gallery also features a skeleton from one of the people murdered on the Abrolhos Islands, a replica of the impressive portico facade carried as cargo to be used as a grand entrance to the city of Batavia, a reconstruction of the captain's cabin, and numerous other artefacts recovered from the wreck.
The Maritime Museum done, that's going to do it for our little walking tour of Fremantle. So now we're going to head back through the Esplanade Park to our car and head home. Thanks so much for coming with me. I hope you guys had a lovely time. I haven't been to Fremantle in a while, so I was a little bit apprehensive about how today was going to go, but I've got to say I was pleasantly surprised. A little worried at the start with how expensive things seem to be and everything having entry fees now, but you know, super walkable city and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I highly recommend you come and check it out for yourselves. Alright, I've been Bailey. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!